Okay, so the Rebbe, we're up to Oistes. So the Rebbe was discussing the impact of Matan Torah, that the Eibishter connected with the Torah more. The Yidden got the ownership of the Torah, and that the Torah affects the world. The three areas. And the Rebbe also brought down from the Pasuk of Shemen Turak Shmecho, L'Reich Shmanecho Tovim, Shema, Shemen Turak Shmecho, how it all fits in with all these inyanim. And the Rebbe brought out that Anoichi Hashem Elikecha, that's really the yesod of uh, of all the changes, is because Atzmus came down in Torah. The main change was Atzmus came down in Torah. And once Atzmus came down in Torah, then the Yidden can have the level of Bittel, which gives them the ownership on Torah. And then the Torah can be the owner of the world, can make a change in the world. So the Rebbe is going to explain now that why do we need dafke the fact that Atzmus comes down into the Torah, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha, that is why the Yidden become uh, the uh, the the owners of Torah. Uh, that way it comes down. He's going to explain, because the true level of receiving the Torah of a Yid is through the level of Bittul. And the true level of Bittul is only after Matan Torah, when we have Bittul Atzmus. That's the level of Bittul B'Metzias, a lot more than there can be the Bittul before Matan Torah. Let's look inside. Test. Yes, Lahoisi, we can add Biur, more explanation. Behashaychus dehashinui be'olam. The connection, the change in the world. So we're saying the world changes. That's, I guess, we'll call it number three. The third thing, what happened at Matan Torah, that Torah changes the world. So the connection between the change in the world, Shenasa the limud Torah v'kiyum mitzvahs deha'odam, which takes place. How does that happen? When a Yid learns Torah and he observes mitzvahs, he changes the world. The person changes the world, but the person can only change the world after Matan Torah, when we have Atzmus in Torah. Lahamshachas Atzmus ba'Torah mitzvahs, to bringing down Atzmus in Torah mitzvahs. So he wants to explain how number three, we're calling it number three, the change in the world that Torah accomplished comes because of the change that Atzmus came down in Torah, number one. Because number one, that's why we have number three. Because we need the person learning Torah should bring down Anoichi, but we need that the person who learns Torah, he should bring down the level of Anoichi through his study in the world. Who al yidei shehalimud shaloi hu betachlis habitl. That is, when he's through his study, when the Yid learns, he's in total subjugation. Similarly, also with observance of mitzvahs, that the person is totally subjugated to the Eibishter, who commands the mitzvahs. That is the way that Torah mitzvahs can impact the world. So, in order to have the greatest level of bittul, to be able to have the impact in the world, it's only if you have in Torah the level of atzmus, that's when you have the real bittul. V'amitis, v'amitis habittul shebelimud ha'Torah v'kiyum ha'mitzvahs. The true subjugation, when you learn Torah and observe mitzvahs, bo mizeh, that comes from the fact shebehaTorah v'hamitzvahs shenitnu b'matan Torah, that in the Torah mitzvahs that were given by matan Torah, yesh no hamshachas ha'atzmus. There exists. There is the hamshachas ha'atzmus. That's why, and that is how we have the true bittul. The bittul necessary to make a change in the world comes dafke because we have the amshachas atzmus. Number one, we have amshachas atzmus in Torah. Then the yid who learns Torah, which makes a change in the world, can have the true bittul in order so he should be able to impact the world. Why is that? The limud Torah v'kiyum mitzvah shala'ov is koydem matan Torah. Because the study of Torah and the observance of the mitzvahs of the forefather before Matan Torah. So, kivon sha'avodas ha'ovis higia rak ad shoresh hanivroim, since the service of the forefathers, that only reached till the root of the creation, which means they didn't have the noisen haTorah. They just studied the Torah with their own talents, with their own ability. So the highest they can go is to their root of the Nivroim. And therefore, the Legabe Shoresh HaNivroim, Yesh Tfisas Mokum LaNivroim. And when you measure relative to the root of the Nivroim, Nivroim have space, which means there's a Metzias. There's something there because that's the root of the Nivroim. L'chein habitul shalahem lo hoya bitul betachlis. And that's why the bittul of the Ovis was not a total subjugation, because they only got up to the Sheresh HaNivroim, where there is still room for a Metzias of the Nivroim. And this explains also what the Pasuk says by Avraham. He says, Vanoichi ofor va'efer. I am sand and ashes. Chalal is trying to say that his level of bittul, he has no metzias, no bittul. But the fact that he says that he's sand and ashes, that itself is a metzias. It's not nothing. So that expresses that while he had the level of bittul, it wasn't bittul betachlis. So, Mashakosu ba'Avraham, v'anoichi ofor va'efer. This is what it says by Avraham. I am sand and ashes, shegam efer hu metzias. Also, ashes is a metzias. It's something. The fire burns away everything else. It remains ashes, but the ashes is a metzias. But v'habitl shal yidei limud haTorah, v'kiyum hamitzvah shel ha'achrim matan Torah. But the subjugation that is through the study of Torah and the observance of mitzvahs, which follows matan Torah, hu bitl betachlis. That is total bittul. Total bittul is only after Matan Torah, not even by the Avos. Bedugmas habittul, that is similar to the bittul, the Moshe Mekabel Torah, but Moshe's level of bittul, which is even higher than the Avos. Tiksiv bei v'nachnu mo. What are we? Nachnu mo, k'satinu linu aleinu. So they said, Moshe Rabbeinu said, we are the level of ma. Ma means we are really no metzias. So the tachlis habitl that the Yidden have after Matan Torah is what allows for the Torah to make a change in the world. And that only comes with the bitl after Matan Torah, the level of Nachnuma, not the level of the Ovis, because while they were the level of bitl, but it was still the level of Ofer ve'efer, it was still a metzias there. But here is the level Nachnuma. How? So this level the Rebbe says is because on Matan Torah, the Yidden Take got the level of Hashbaya Likecha. He says, Anoichi Havaya Likecha. But we actually got a higher level even than Havaya Likecha. We have Anoichi. Havaya is taka the bittel of Matan Torah, but we get even higher than the bittel of Matan Torah, the Shem Havaya. We get the level of Anoichi. Via Shloimar, the Rebbe explains in the brackets. The Zeh Shekol Echad Vechad Misrael Yochel Laigia Ayidei Torah Mitzvahs. The fact that each and every one of the Yidden is able to reach when he learns the Torah Mitzvahs, through Torah Mitzvahs, to the level of Bittel of Ma. The Torah Mitzvah brings a Bittel of Ma, which allows him to impact the world. That's because Havaya Lekecha. It says two things here. It says Havaya Lekecha, and then Anoichi Havaya Lekecha, the level of Anoichi. So mitzad the level of Havaya Lekecha, that Havaya became a Lekecha, Kinal Siv Gimel V'Dalid, and Havaya Yudke Vovke B'Milu Alfin. So when you do Hey Aleph, the two Hey Alephs, so then when you have the gematria from the name Yudke Vovke, you come up with 45. So basically, Ma comes through the level of Yudke Vovke, which was given to the Yidden, Havaya Elikecha. Before he talked about the gematria, hey, that's why we had the 10 hands, the 10 fingers. But here he's talking the gematria the way it's with an aleph. So then you have, it comes out the total to 45, the level of bitlama. But that's the level of Havaya, the Betl of Ma. But we have even something higher. We have a Noichi that comes down. He said before, how could Havaya become a Lekecha? You have to come from a higher place. It has to come from the level of a Noichi. So the bittul that becomes through bringing down Atzmus, a Noichi, Shalamayla Ma'avaya, a Noichi which is even higher than Havaya, B'toiru mitzvah that is even higher than the bittul of Ma. The level of Havaya, the level of Anoichi, which is even higher than the bittul of Ma, that comes down also Elikech. So basically, the Rebbe says that it all involves the fact that the Atzmus comes down into the Torah, allows for the Torah to make a change in the world when the person learns Torah, because that allows for the person to be bittul, and the bittul helps him in accomplishing changing around the world. And the Rebbe also explained earlier that the fact that there was amshochas ha'atzmus in Torah is all that is given to the people, that the Yidden should be in charge. So basically, number one helped the Yidden, the Makable HaTorah, the Yidden. The fact that number one, that the Eibishter comes down in Torah, allowed for the Yidden to become in charge of Torah, and allows for three, for them to make a change in the world. So now the Rebbe is going to round up and bring together the whole Maimer from the beginning. Yud. The three ideas over here, we're talking about the Eibishter becoming Atzmus in Torah. We're talking about the Torah, the Yidden becoming the owners of Torah. And we're talking about the Torah, number three, making a change in the world. So these three inyonim, pirushim, these three interpretations, the Lamer, heim behesem legimul hoinyonim, this fits the three aspects shenischatshu b'matan Torah that were renewed in Matan Torah. So we had three interpretations of the word Lamer. One was by Daber Hashem El Moshe Lamer, that the Eibishter Hamshochas Ha'atzmus came down in the Torah, which means that the person should be totally bottled. The Pirush Belamer Shebematan Torah Nischadish Shalimud HaTorah Shel Ha'odom Yeh B'tachlis Habitl, that Torah came up that when the Yid learns Torah, it should be with total bittul. But often, in a way, we're saying the Tan L'shoinim Resecha Koina Charakoida. The first shot we said that Lamer means you're just saying it over what Hashem said. Hashem said Lamer, that means whenever we learn something, we're not saying something of our own. We're saying, Oina Charakoida. The Eibishter is saying it, we are just repeating it. We're responding to the one who's reading. So basically, that's the level of total bittul. How do we get the level of total bittul? That comes because of the novelty, what took place of the Noisen HaTorah, the Atzmus came down, that brings about the lamer that we should stand in the total bittul. Okay, now Siftes, like we just said in Siftes, Sha'amitis habitl shebelimud HaTorah, the true subjugation, when you learn Torah, bo mizeh shebehaTorah shenitnu b'matan Torah yeshno hamshachas atzmos. How do we get the true bittul of learning Torah? Is the fact that in Torah that the Eibishter gave, Matan Torah, there is atzmus. The atzmus allows for the full bittul of the adam, of the person. So how could the person be tan l'shonim rasecha, just repeating after Hashem? He's no mitzias. That is because the Eibishter put himself into Torah. That's the first pirush. Pirush the lamer. Sha'odam ha'loimer Torah oimer l'kadosh baruch hu sheyachzer kavayachol al dibur shaloi. On the other hand, we had lamer, that the Eibishter should be repeating. The person says, and then the Eibishter repeats after the person. Hu mitzad achidush shenase b'matan Torah b'negei liYisrael mekable haTorah. That is because of the novelty that took place as it pertains to the Yidden, those who received the Torah. Shanitan lahem hakoyach lifel kaviyachol b'HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They were given the power, so to speak, to impact Hashem. Like we say, that power. Natzchuni, bonai natzchuni. My children were victorious over me. They won. Basically, the Torah was given over, the Chiddush of Matan Torah, that the Yidden are the owners of Torah. Macharti lechem Torah, as he said before. They own the Torah. That's the second shot of Lamer that the Eibishter says after the Yidden, that the Yid has to make the ruling, and the Eibishter goes after the Yid's ruling. And then you have the third pirush, pirush b'leimer, she'aseres hadibros nimshochim u'poilim ba'asorem amoris. That lamer means that the 10 saying of aseres hadibros, they impact the asorem amoris, the world, u'mitzad shenachidu shenase b'matan Torah b'haTorah. That is the novelty that became in Matan Torah, that the Torah is a dominant force. Shehi Mosheles V'Shaletes Al Ha'ilam. The Torah is the one that dominates and rules over the world. That was the third chiddush, and that's the third interpretation of lamer to impact the Aseres Asorem Amoris. The Torah impacts the Asorem Amoris. So now we have, the Rebbe asked in the beginning of the Maimer, what's the connection to the three Perushim? Again, so now we say that this is really all connected to one and the same idea, that by Matan Torah we got the level of Atzmus, and then the Yidden through that, in the Yidden, the Makable HaTorah, they became in charge of the world. So the Tan L'Shoini Imrosecha, meaning that you are just saying the Ebershter's words, Lemoir, to say the Ebershter's words, that's the ultimate level of Bittel. That is because of the Chiddush that the Ebershter was Nimshach, the Atzmus was Nimshach in Torah. And because of that Bittel, the Yid, because of that Bittel, they can accomplish all the other things, but it all begins with the lamer of being bottled the Ebershter. But then the second Pirushim lamer that the Ebershter repeats after you, which means the Yid gets the ownership of Torah. The Ebershter gave him away the Torah. That's the Chiddush of Matan Torah by dealing with regards to the Yid. And finally, the Chiddush is that we can also change the world. And that is the third pshat, that lamer, that the Aseres Hadibris impact the Asara Mamoris, the world, because the Torah is a dominant of the world. V'yesh lekasher zei mash omer Azal, we can tie this with that which our sages of blessed memory say. It says that who is a person that is really free is one who learns Torah, who is occupied in the study of Torah. The kivon shahatorah meisheles v'sheletes al ha'olam, because since the Torah dominates and rules the world, hadei kisha oisek b'Torah. So when you occupy yourself with Torah, ein shaykh sheyeh mishahu shoylet olav. There is not possible that anybody can dominate the person, because the person dominates the world. He's really a ben chayrin. He's free. He cannot be impacted by anything, because the chiddush is that you are dominating the world with Matan Torah. The Torah dominates the world. The Adarabah. Not only can the world not dominate him, but you are the one that dominates and rules the entire world. Therefore, Megula Haprotis, so from this personal redemption, because the person is a ben chayrin, when he learns Torah, through the story of Torah becomes a ben chayrin. Boim legula haklolis, we come to the general redemption. Then there will be the true redemption. Begeula ha'amitis v'hashlema, and the true and complete redemption of the Mashiach Tzidkenu, to the righteous Mashiach v'korav mamash very soon. So the Rebbe basically today explained how all the changes in the world also take place because of the hamshachas ha'atzmus. The Rebbe explained that through bittul, the world changes through the Yid's learning Torah and mitzvahs. But how could the Yid's learning Torah and mitzvahs impact the world? Because the Yid's bittul that he gets through the Torah and mitzvahs, that can make a change in the world. And the real bittul of Torah and mitzvahs, to make that change, that comes because it was hamshachas ha'atzmus. First, Havaya, which is also higher, even the hamshachas Havaya lekecha, than the Torah the way it was by the Ovis, because over there it was only to the Shoresh Hanivroim, because they took it not the Nois and Torah. Over here you had Havaya, but even more because you have the Anoich Havaya Lekecha. So the true level of bittul, the true level of being able to impact the world, comes because of the Hamshocha of Anoichi Havaya in becoming Elekecha. And this brings around about all the three pirushim that we learned in Lamer. First of all, the level of bittul of Lamer. That Lamer means that the Yid is so bottled to the Ebershter, is Vayda kol advorim eila Lamer, you're just repeating. Where do you get that level of bittul that comes because of the Hamshochas ha'atzmus? Because that's how you get the level. And that is the first shot in Lamer. The second shot in Lamer, that the Yid is the one that says it, and the Eibishter repeats after him, Natzchuni Bona Natzchuni, which means that the Yid is Lamer says it so that Hashem will repeat after him, that he is the one that initiated, the Eibishter responds to him. That is the Chiddush in the Mekabla Torah in the Yidden. And finally, the Pirush that you able to change the world, the Asora Lamer, the Asora Dibris, the impact, the Asora Mamoris, the world that was creation, that is because of the Hamshocha that Torah, that the Yid has when he learns Torah with a total bittul that can make a change in the world. And this is also, the Rebbe connects it to the saying the real freedom that a person has, we say, is when you learn Torah. Why is that? Because when you learn Torah, you're actually become dominating the world. So the world is not, you're free. The world cannot interfere with a Yid who learns Torah, because the Yid is the freedom of Torah. And once a Yid gets his own freedom, this brings to the freedom for the whole world, the Gula Amitis Vashlema Aidei Mashiach Tzidkenu. Okay, we'll leave it over here. And like I said, there's one more mimer. We'll be mamshich tomorrow. Bezras Hashem.
Have a good day. Thank you.